Everywhere you look, people are acting busy, typing furiously on laptops, running between meetings, always glued to their phones. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of them aren't really busy. They're performing busyness. They want to look important, avoid hard truths, and sometimes even hide from themselves. As Tim Ferriss explained in The 4 Hour Work Week, being busy is often just a form of laziness. Laziness in thinking, laziness in making decisions. So, in this video, we'll decode why people pretend to be busy, what it really says about them, and how you can see through this act at work, in relationships, and even in yourself. 1. Busyness as a status symbol. Think about that one colleague who always acts like they're saving the company. They rush through the hallway like they're in a Hollywood action scene. Laptop in one hand, coffee in the other, typing with their elbows, always sighing loudly as if they just finished a board meeting with the president. But if you actually ask them, "What did you get done today?" The answer is usually, "Well, I replied to 37 emails and attended 3 very important meetings," which usually means nothing much. Here's the truth. Busyness has become a status symbol. In today's culture, being busy is like wearing designer clothes. It makes you look valuable, even if you're just running in circles. Cal Newport in Deep Work warns us about this. He says we confuse activity with productivity. And let's be honest, rearranging your Google Drive folders for the 10th time doesn't mean you're building the next Apple. Real importance is not about looking busy. It's about creating something that actually matters. And the funny thing, the people who have the most impact usually look the calmest. They're not sprinting around like headless chickens. They're the ones quietly focused while everyone else is acting dramatic. But here's the twist, and sometimes people don't act busy to look important. They act busy to avoid something because nothing hides fear better than saying, "Sorry, I'm too busy right now." 2. Avoiding what really matters. Another reason people love to act busy is simple: avoidance. "I'm busy" is the most polite excuse in the world. It really means, I don't want to do this, but I don't want to admit it. Think about it. Your friend asks you to help them move furniture. Suddenly, you remember a very urgent task like reorganizing your sock drawer. Or when your boss asks you to take on a tough project, you suddenly discover you have 27 critical emails waiting for a reply. Busyness becomes a shield. It protects us from doing the uncomfortable things. Hard conversations, real responsibilities, chasing long-term goals. And instead of facing them, people fill their time with tiny tasks that look impressive, but don't move the needle at all. Greg McKeown in his book Essentialism puts it perfectly. If you don't prioritize your life, someone else will. And that's exactly what happens. By hiding behind fake busyness, people let random tasks control them instead of choosing what truly matters. Here's the irony. Pretending to be busy often takes more energy than actually finishing the important work. But we humans would rather juggle 10 useless things than face one scary but meaningful task. But here's the funny part. Sometimes people aren't even avoiding something specific. They're just lost. And instead of admitting, "I have no clue what I'm doing," they'd rather look super busy, which brings us to the next reason. 3. Hiding lack of direction. Sometimes fake busyness isn't about looking important or avoiding responsibility. It's just about hiding the fact that you have no idea what you're doing. Think about students before exam. You'll see them with highlighters in 5 different colors, sticky notes covering the entire wall, and they look like geniuses in action. But if you ask them one question from the syllabus, silence. Or take that coworker who's always updating the presentation. 3 weeks in, the slides look the same. Just a new font and maybe an extra transition effect. They aren't progressing, they're decorating. This happens because admitting "I'm lost" feels weak. So people stay in motion, pretending they're working, hoping no one notices. The truth is, clarity is like a knife. One sharp decision can cut through 100 fake tasks. And here's the ironic part. The more confused people are, the more dramatic their busyness becomes. So it's like saying, if I look stressed enough, maybe people will think I'm on track. But reality, they're just running on a treadmill. Lots of movement, zero progress. So fake busyness is often just a cover for being lost. It's easier to shuffle papers and tweak slides than to admit you don't know where you're headed. But here's the thing, not everyone is lost. Some people know exactly what to do, yet they still put on the I'm so busy act. Why? Because they're terrified of being judged if they ever look free. And that's where the next layer of this problem shows up. 4. Fear of judgment. Not all fake busyness comes from confusion. Sometimes people know exactly what they're doing. They just don't want to be seen doing nothing. In many offices, sitting idle is like a crime. The moment your screen looks empty, someone will appear behind you and ask, "So, nothing on your plate?" And boom, suddenly you're fighting for your reputation. So, what do people do? They open random spreadsheets, type aggressively on the keyboard, and even nod seriously at the screen as if they've just solved world hunger. Deep down, they're just updating the font from Arial to Calibri. This is what fear of judgment does. People perform stress so no one questions their value. They think, if I look busy, they can't call me lazy. But here's the irony, the most secure people don't perform at all. They know their worth comes from results, not from noise. That's why the calmest person in the room often has the most control. Real confidence is being able to sit still without panic, because you know your output will speak louder than your fake sighs and frantic typing. So, a lot of busyness is just fear. Fear of looking lazy, fear of being judged. But here's the deeper layer, sometimes people don't care about others at all. They keep themselves busy because they're running away from something inside. Silence feels scary. Stillness makes hidden thoughts rise, and that's why many people would rather look endlessly busy than spend 10 quiet minutes alone. Which brings us to the final reason. 5. Emotional escape. Let's be honest. Sometimes people aren't busy for status or to avoid tasks or even to impress their boss. They're busy because they can't stand being alone with their own thoughts. The moment things get quiet, the mind starts throwing uncomfortable questions. Am I wasting my life? Why don't I have a plan? Or the scariest one, what do I really want? So instead of facing these thoughts, people bury themselves in noise. They scroll, they answer emails at midnight, they even reorganize their pen stand for the 15th time. Anything just to avoid sitting still. It's like those people who pretend they're on an urgent call the moment they step into an elevator. Not because anyone's calling, but because silence feels too awkward. The philosopher Blaise Pascal once said, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone." And he was right. Busyness becomes a drug. It numbs the discomfort, but it also robs people of clarity, focus, and peace. So busyness isn't always about work. Sometimes it's just a clever mask to avoid silence, emotions, and truth. And when you add it all up, status games, avoidance, confusion, fear, and escape, you realize one thing. Most of the world is not actually busy. They're just pretending. Which raises the real question. If everyone is faking busyness, then what does real productivity actually look like? It's not about filling your calendar. It's about finishing what truly matters. All this pretending shows one truth. Being busy is easy, being focused is rare. So stop acting busy, start doing what actually matters.